Well, anyways, we got Tony Chago back on the show again.
Hey,
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 Tony, welcome,
glad
welcome.
to be
Welcome.
glad to be back.
That's awesome. So, Tony, let's kick it off because I know we didn't really talk about what you wanted to talk about last time. So let's and I know you got a hard stop right in about a little less than an hour, right? Actually, 48 minutes from now, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's a couple things that we talked about last time, and we went into a rabbit hole of AI, and we also started talking about how it could solve big problems like homelessness, and I think
Right.
that is really something that I am passionate about. It's right up my alley,
Yeah.
and when we talked about that, I think there was something about that conversation into what what the future looks like for real estate, for housing, for our own ability to solve really big and complicated problems. And that to me is one of the things that I spent a lot of time working on in the last several years. I did a transition from in my career. I have a background in technology, so that's why I understand it very well. And but I almost got bored of technology because it's constantly changing. I think my ADHD mind really loved the fact that there's always something changing rapidly about technology. So I was really attracted to that. I still am. But I also had this other thing, which is like the complete opposite end of the spectrum, which is real estate. And real estate's like one of the oldest industries that hardly has any changes and it moves so slow. And the contrast of the two is has been something that fascinates me because there's a need for housing all the time,
Yeah.
and but technology is this massive disruptor that changes everything. And I think where these two collide is something that's been really fascinating to me as far as what that looks like for us in the future, because we always think about technology in the digital world, but it's like, where are we physically still going to be in the future? I mean, are our bodies still going to need to exist? We still need places to live. And regardless of what happens with the technology and robots and all the things, I think there's always going to be that need.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we need some form of shelter, food, clothing, shelter, right? They say those are the three essentials before anything else. So,
So,
yeah.
Tony, then what? I mean, you talked about technology being a disruptor, and we saw that in the music industry. We saw it in the taxi industry. We see it in kind of the food industry, just about the idea that you can get delivery of anything in the neighborhood, pretty much to your door. Um, what do you think, or what are some of the things that you're thinking might happen with technology and real estate, or living spaces, I guess?
Yeah, so one thing that I really been looking at recently is, in LA, because I'm here in Southern California, right? And LA is one of these massive markets where a lot of new technology gets adopted early because of the nature of where we're at. And there's these in in LA, and I think it's Santa Monica, Culver City area. Waymo had these first self-driving cars piloted. This is one of the few cities they have it in, right? And so you start to drive around and you just see them everywhere now, and it's become normalized. And I look at that and I'm like, oh, okay, so now I'm seeing where AI and technology is really starting to interact with our physical world and how it's starting to change things in the physical environment. And I think it's gotten to a point now where it is kind of normal. Like, I mean, if you're listening to this from some other part of the country, you might be like, "Whoa, that car's driving itself." But here, it's like, okay, you see it one time, you're like, "Wow," and then you see it again, you're like, "Okay, it's just a normal thing." And now it's just like blowing your horn at a self-driving car doesn't mean anything because it's like the car doesn't care.
Doesn't care at all.
And so what does that mean for our physical space and what is that creating? Because real estate is massively impacted by our housing and everything there. So I'm working on a project right now. One of the things that I've been investing into is affordable housing and how we have a problem with housing density, just not enough housing in these big metropolitan areas to meet the demands of everyone. Everybody wants to be in these central locations because of jobs and what they create, there's just not enough space to have them. So we have to, like, again, slowly develop them. It's a slow process, construction, all the things that go into it. And I'm looking at it from this angle of, okay, what is this impact on self-driving vehicles? How's that going to impact our landscape? We have a big play in California for ADUs, which are accessory dwelling units, trying to make more space for housing. And a lot of times that means we're getting rid of parking to make room for more housing. And people think, well, where are we going to park our vehicles? But I see it as, if we have self-driving cars, do we need a place to park our vehicles? And is that even going to be a thing? Because you look at how quickly technology advances, how quickly things change. It's like, oh wow, we're gonna have self-driving cars everywhere pretty soon. And are people going to be parking them the way we did in the past, or are we going to actually rather use that space for more housing and get rid of a lot of these parking spaces?
One of the things, can you talk about, and I know Elon Musk and others have talked about this, why would having a self-driving car mean I wouldn't have to park it?
Yeah, that's
What's
a
the
great
car
point.
doing if I'm not parking it? I think that some people don't understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, so that it's the utilization, right? Most of the time, the way cars are right now, they're just sitting there most of the time, whether
Mhm.
they're, at night, sleep while you're sleeping, or while you're at work. But most of the time, our vehicles are sitting there. However, when you can increase the utilization of a vehicle to where it's always driving from somebody from point A to point B, you can drive the cost down because they become more efficient. So now these vehicles become a way for the cost of that same transportation to be much less, and it becomes commercialized. So when you commercialize it, that means the impact amongst everyone becomes less. So the cost per mile to travel from point A to point B in a self-driving vehicle becomes much less than the cost of owning a vehicle, maintaining it, and parking it there for 8, 20, I don't know how many hours a day a car on average sits there in your driveway.